All right, guys, welcome to part 8, where we're going to be discussing how to layer snares and what to look for when you're layering a snare. All right, so reasons why you'd want to layer a snare can be many. Maybe you want to create your own sound. Maybe you want to have the snare be a big focal point of a drop, or maybe it's a genre like dubstep, trap, or something where you really need that snare to be huge. So there's a lot of reasons why you would do it, but the ideas on how you're going to do it remain the same. So with snares, for instance, I have like 5 or 6, I don't know how many snares, how many is this, like 7? I think it's around 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's 7 snares right here. I could literally play all these together, except maybe these last two dubstep snares. So we could play these 6 snare sounds together, and it would be a layer snare, right? So it's really loud right now. But if I turn these down together and then play this, you have a huge snare sound, right? It sounds good. So that'd be a great dubstep snare right there. Add some tune to it with that EQ trick I showed you, and you have a dubstep layered snare. Well, layering snares is actually quite easy. It's not like kicks where you have to worry about, layering the attack section, the click section, the body, and the sub. Layering snares is a little bit easier because there doesn't need to be a tune to it typically, unless you're going for that sound. Then it might get a little bit harder. But you don't have to tune every element of a snare. Like if you have a clap in there, you can just tune the snare if you want that dubstep type sound that we looked at earlier, and then just layer it with a clap. It should be fine more often than not. But layering snares is pretty easy. The only thing you might want to be aware of, obviously, is making it too loud or too punchy. Might make it hard to mix. If you get good samples, you shouldn't have to layer, 6 is excessive. Let's look at this more in a production sense. Maybe I like that because there's a clap with it. And then let's say I want like an 808 type feel. Then adjust the volumes a little. You got a really cool snare right there. So typically if you're starting from good samples, you're not going to have to layer something crazy like 5 or 6 snares together like we just looked at. It'll be like maybe 2 or 3 typically. And the cool thing is you can actually pan some of these just a pinch off center, and we're going to look at that in the next section where you're, ways to get your snares to be wider or just seem bigger. Because they need to remain in the center more or less, right? If they're going to be playing with your kick, like kick, snare, they need to remain in that center field of the stereo field because that's just where it has the most impact. But there are ways to widen that sound because right now I have a bass, a sub bass, and a kick all centered in this lead. So if we solo these, we have a lot of stuff in the center. Now this snare is also center. So it's going to fight with a lot of these elements, and we're going to look at how you can actually start to separate that snare in the next video from those center elements. It's not super hard just because it's living in its own frequency. But yeah, layering might be a good way to add some separation because you can pan some of the layered snares. Maybe you can think of it as, okay, here's my main snare, and then let's layer these 2 snares out left and right just a little bit, just to give it some space, give it some breath, and give it some room to kind of stand on its own away from the other elements in your mix that are always going to be centered, which are going to be the kick, the bass, and the lead, or your vocals or your melody. All right, so that sums up snare layering. I will see you in the next video.